One of the most important things we can do this year is defeating this thoroughly undemocratic, extreme ballot measure that's being put forward in the state of California to effectively kill community choice energy. The legislature has voted to make it possible for cities to look at community choice. Marin County is actively engaged. Berkeley, Oakland, Emeryville have been engaged in a process. Richmond and other cities nearby have expressed significant interest in exploring it. And so, because all of this is going on, suddenly there appears, this thing like, well, let's make it virtually impossible for people to do this by saying that you have to get a 2/3 vote in order to make it happen. And the irony of this is right now, the concept of a 2/3 vote is probably less popular this year than any year in the last 20 years because, people all over the state have seen what a 2/3 vote can do to stop us from getting a budget and stop people from making compromises to move things forward. So I think it's sort of good for us that it's this year that this is being proposed, in the sense that our campaign to oppose this can be synchronized with the efforts, the Democratic Party and many labor unions and other activists are going to be trying to change the rules in terms of, budgets, at least, if not some other changes in 2/3 votes. So a message opposing requiring a 2/3 vote will actually resonate with all the money that's going to be spent advertising, again, to wipe out the 2/3 vote on the budget. It will be saying how undemocratic a 2/3 vote is. I doubt if we're going to raise that kind of money to oppose this initiative. I mean, we certainly should be able to raise significant amount to defeat it, but not like they will raise in terms of changing the whole budget process. So we can piggyback our campaign off of that whole issue of, do you believe in democracy? Should a majority actually have, anything to say about things, or should a little tiny 1/3 get to totally stymie everything? Being proposed, in a funny sort of way, I think it actually gives us a beautiful opportunity to educate people about community choice. Because, while the corporations are spending all this money attacking it, we can sort of puncture some of their bubbles against it and use it to engage people in having conversations that, otherwise, when I'm talking about community choice, people fall asleep. And so the fact that they're attacking it so fiercely with such an undemocratic thing actually sort of will mean that people will be talking about it, and we've got to be prepared with our, we can't be getting into abstract intellectual things about, community choice aggregation. What is aggregation again? And, because that's just going to lose everybody's attention, even our diehard supporters. So we've really got to get our message solid. I know some people in this group have been talking about that for a while. So I'm certainly going to put a lot of my time and energy and fundraising efforts into working to defeat this, and I hope many of you will too.
Kriss, what kind of timeline is on this?
Well, that depends on how quickly they gather the signatures. They took a pause for some, which I still haven't quite gotten the answer, but my friends who are paid signature gatherers basically said PG&E just told everybody, don't gather any signatures right now, and took a pause. So I don't know if they were doing a new poll to try to redo this, but then I've heard since then that they've started gathering signatures again. So they're engaged in whatever, even if they were to change the exact form, I think it's going to be a horrible initiative, and we've got to start pulling people together to defeat it.
So they is basically PG&E. Anybody else?
Well, so far PG&E seems to be the lead. I mean, it wouldn't be surprising if other corporate interests jump in. I mean, that would be surprising. I haven't seen any specific evidence yet.
All the money so far as I know, has been PG&E.
And
None of the southern?
well, see,
No.
it may be that because PG&E sort of has this, like we just dropped out of the Chamber of Commerce because they're not green for us, that it might be that the other, companies are thinking, well, let PG&E sort of, they have this little bit of, green or pseudo-green image, let them be the front lead on this, and then when it comes to the crunch, we'll pour lots of money into it. I mean, this might be an orchestrated strategy, or it might be like, it's a crusade by somebody at PG&E. But if it gets on the ballot, I will give you 1,000 to 1 odds for any dollar amount you want that other corporations will fund making it win. Anybody want to take that bet?
1,000 to 1?
1,000 to 1 odds I give you that other corporations will.
Other power companies, or do you think there are other?
He's trying to be vague. You got 1,000.
We're talking about the fall 2010?
Right. On the current time schedule, it would be almost impossible to have it on the June ballot. I mean, it would take a miracle. So basically, it's going to be in November, which is also basically when the people working on reforming the 2/3 rule on the budget or on some version of taxes. So they're both on the same timeline to be in November.
Midterm.
And that tends to be easier to, more people vote in a November election than in a June election by far. So that paid signature gatherers do not get into the absolute, technically, factually correct details of what's in your initiative. I mean, a lot of paid signature gatherers, basically say, sign this because I need, $2, and they'll pay me $2 if you sign it. I mean, they say all kinds of things. Some of them are very funny, and some of them will actually tell you the truth, but some of them will just, I've had people give me things to sign that were being paid. They were being paid by corporations to gather signatures, and they say, "Here, are you pro-choice?" I'm like, "Yeah." They say, "Here, sign this," and then I read it, and it's like, this is Sarah's law. This is like some really reactionary anti-women's right to choose thing, and you just asked me to sign it and said, "Oh, I must have made a mistake." But, and I'm sure if they're in, some place which is more conservative and they're circulating a liberal thing and trying to get money, then they tell them that it's conservative. And when it's, so a paid signature gathering campaign has very little to do with truth. It has to do with if you're willing to pay enough money to get enough signatures, you can get people to sign, just about anything under the sun.